If you watched my video on growing lemongrass from store-bought, today is the day that I'm going to show you how to pot it up once it's developed some roots. Hi everyone, I'm Julie DeMacos, also known as the Gardening Girl, and I'm so excited that you could join me today. And today we're going to do this together so that you too know what to do next after your lemongrass has rooted. And to catch that video, I'm going to post a link just above, so check that out and you can follow along and then hopefully join us and grow your own lemongrass from store-bought stalks. Let's get started. Here are my lemongrass stalks. In the previous video, I had shown you what to do. So just take your stalks, as long as the bases are intact, set them in a glass of water, like so, only about an inch or so of water, and leave it. And then after a few weeks, there you go, roots have developed. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna be potting them up. So I've decided to use this 12-inch pot. It's a 12-inch round. It's not too deep, which is just fine for lemongrass. Now, if you only had a stalk or two, you could probably use a 6-inch or 8-inch pot to plant two together, or use a 6-inch pot to plant one, and it will become a nice full plant. But with a 12-inch round, I'm thinking that I'm gonna put them all in here, and if they get too big, once the summertime hits, I can divide it. The roots will have been really well established. Won't be a big deal to split them and then pot them on either directly into the garden or into separate containers. So I'm using this container here. I've used premium potting mix, okay, Pro Mix, and it has a very mild amount of fertilizer in it. So I've added another fertilizer into it. I've mixed it in quite diluted, although it gave me a proportion. I took a little bit less and I've stirred it all in. It was a dry organic type, well-balanced 4-4-4 type fertilizer. So now that this is in here, I'm gonna take my watering can. I have these tops in my Amazon shop and they're really, really great. All you do is put one on a water bottle, and this way the water bottle can be reused for a long period of time, doesn't break down, and I use these tops. So I'm just gonna wet it, and later on, once it's planted, I'm going to set it into a large tray with water and let it water from the bottom. But for now, I just want to moisten the soil a bit so that the stalks stay in place. So I'm just gonna do this. I think that that's enough. And if I lift it, it has a little bit of weight. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my dibber. These are also my Amazon shop, and these are great. They last forever. They come in a set of 2. I use them all the time for seed starting, for pricking out, just really, really easy. So I'm gonna use this end. Now, if you don't have that, you could use a marker or something thick, or your finger, but I don't wanna use my finger today, so you could use something like this, which should also work, but I don't wanna put that in the dirt, so I'm using my dibber. So since I believe I have 12, let's see if all of them have rooted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I guess I have 8, not 12. Okay, so that's even better. These will fit really nicely in here. They all have roots that have developed from the bases. So I'm gonna set them aside for now. And I'm really glad to see that they're all ready. So there they are on the side. I need 8 holes. So I think I'm gonna start one in the center. So I just want to make sure, and the reason why I'm dipping the holes first is because I don't want to break the delicate root system. So, this has worked really hard to establish some roots. Look, there's even a new growth right here on this one, which is fantastic. I may be able to split it later. And I will eventually bring this pot in. If it's not ready for harvest at the end of summer, I'll bring it in and let it continue growing inside my sunny room and then harvest it later. Anyway, so I think I'm going to put one here. 2, 3, I want to make sure they're evenly spaced. 4, 5, I think this one's going to go a little closer. This one's going to go a little closer. Okay, that one's in a good space. We've got 5. I'm going to do 6, 7, and let's do one here, 8. So I do have an extra space, and that's okay. Okay, set that aside in that little cup. And I'm gonna start with the taller one. So I have this one here. And this one, as you can see, it's already made a really nice stem. So I'm just gonna gently place it in because I don't wanna break off the roots. And I only need to bury it about this deep. This is what I mentioned in the previous video as well, just about to here. I could go to here if I wanted to, but I'm thinking just like that. And I'm just going to firm the soil around. And that's it. And it's planted. See how easy? Okay, this really nice rooted one here, I'm gonna put this one right here. So that way it like has space, because it also has a little baby. So I don't wanna push it into the soil and break off any roots. I'm just gonna gently work it in. And I'm gonna firm it in. This soil, this potting mix, I love it. I love this brand. And I'm not sponsored by any means, but I've been using ProMix for a really long time. And I just love the quality. I like it, particularly this, you know, the seed starting mix and the potting mix. It's so light and fluffy. And I have tried different varieties of potting mix, and I find them to be quite heavy and chunky and, you know, different than this one. This one is just so light. I love how light, it almost feels like seed starting mix is so light. So I really like that. There doesn't have too many additions. There's some pieces of wood, anything big, like you can even see some here on the soil surface. And I've taken out the bigger ones, and sadly, because, you know, there's peat in it and it comes from a forest, it will have additional, you know, it have wood in it, which is fine. But in the garden, it'll be fine because, you know, worms would break it down. But I don't have any worms in here. So if I find something that is like not appropriate, like a big piece of wood, then I just take it out. Otherwise, I leave it. So there's a second last one here. Okay, just gonna place it in. I'm trying to be really careful. And my final one here, which has just one root. And I wanna be really careful. I don't wanna break that root. There we go. It's in nicely. And that root is facing this way. It'll grow out in that direction. Oops. Okay, just trying to push the soil down, firm it around so they sit stable until their roots, you know, start moving into the soil. I just want to be really careful, make sure that they're firmed in nicely so that they have some, you know, some strength standing in the soil and are not going to tip over. You don't want to have it in light, fluffy. You don't want to just have it loosey-goosey all there in the soil. You definitely want to firm it in so it has some support. And that's it. And that's planted. Now what I'm going to do on the surface, and you can use grit if you want, but I'm going to put vermiculite. And I just like to protect the surface of the soil from, it prevents, you know, fungus gnats from settling in and laying their eggs. I don't like to leave it just as is. I just like to cover the soil. So feel free to use like a grit or a chicken grit, maybe like a crushed, finely crushed stones. I'm going to use vermiculite. That works too. Although the little rocks would be just fine too. I've got my vermiculite, and I like to use a little cup to pour it. So I'm just going to sprinkle it on the surface, like so. This way I can control where it's going as opposed to just pouring it out from the bag, which may be, you know, might come out too much, too fast. It's quite dusty, the vermiculite, so I don't want it to get all over the place. And I'm trying really hard not to push these stems over. Until they establish themselves, you know, you want to be careful because they are still not stable. And I don't want to break those roots, so I'm trying to be really careful. But once they establish and those roots start spreading out, then it won't be a problem. Okay, that's it. Just a little more here. That's it. And there you have it. It's all planted. So there you have it. It's all planted, and this is how it looks. So I think this will make a really nice container plant. I'm gonna keep it in the garden once the frost is done. If this goes out in the garden now, you wanna wait until the final frost date is safe gone behind you. At least, you know, take a look at the weather forecast as you approach your final frost date where you live, and just take a look for the 2-week prognosis if there's any risk of frost. You don't want this experiencing any frost. It is more like a tropical, so it needs to be in warm climate. So what I'll do is I will eventually transfer it to my greenhouse where it's, you know, once the temperatures are in the plus, even if they fall low at night, they'll be fine in the greenhouse. I would say like once it gets to about 8 degrees at night or so, it'll be fine in the greenhouse. I might use a little space heater, but I want to eventually get it out to the greenhouse and just want to make sure that I don't forget to water it. Lemongrass hates drying out. Make sure you water it consistently. And then eventually, once I start planting out into the garden and we're past our final frost date, I will then keep this in the garden where it's nice and sunny and warm. It'll grow there and it'll love life. And at the end of the season, I'm gonna bring it back in the house, keep it in my south-facing window and where it's nice and sunny and bright, and it'll continue growing as a houseplant. Anyway, I really thank you guys for watching, and if you are growing lemongrass from store-bought, please let me know and let me know how you guys are doing, and if yours have rooted, if you're about to plant them, what you plant them into. I'd love to hear about that as well as where you're gonna keep them and how many you're planting. I look forward to hearing from you all. Hope you're all having a great day. Thanks so much for watching. If you like my video, please click the like button. As well, feel free to share, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the notification bell to be notified of any upcoming videos. Look forward to speaking to you all really soon. Good luck growing lemongrass from store-bought. You guys are all gonna do great. Happy gardening, everyone.